Alrighty, so unfortunately I played this one this morning and I lost. So I'm back again tonight to beat it, and I've not left myself enough time, so I'm definitely not going to complete it before the next day rolls over. Won't get the same day completion icon, but so be it. Analyzing the kingdom, two big things to note. There's no action here, so you can't build an engine. There's no non-terminal draw or anything as well. And there's a good trash in the form of Sentry, so I think any deck you're playing gets Sentry early and gets thin. And then the big question, which I think is very non-obvious here, is which terminal action cards are you playing with? Kind of got to pick a line. I see basically three options. A would be playing with a bunch of cantrips and trying to draw your deck by just having a very thin deck. So a few sentries and like a bunch of merchants and a silver, a bunch of poachers, just don't empty a pile. And then like 2 tiaras. That's 4 total buys if you tiara. And then your deck could just be like a bunch of sentries, poachers, merchants, 2 tiaras, 2 silvers, and like a clerk. And you get in an attack, you get in 4 buys, you bank up a bunch of cantrips, and that deck has the most control. You're hoping to skip past the colonies with sentry as much as possible late in the game. I think that looks a lot better if the colonies don't exist. Like if this is just provinces, I think that might be the best deck. But with colonies, it's not that easy to get up to 22 with just a bunch of cards that add 1 money per buy. Like you're buying merchants and poachers one at a time, you don't get to 22 very fast. Maybe you could play with like 2 tiaras, 1 silver, 1 platinum, for example, and try to find all of that. A little bit vulnerable to like a bandit hitting the silver. But that might be reasonable. I think the deck still seems solid. Option B would be Council Room. Obviously, Council Room is much more versed to having a bunch of cantrips in it, so you want to play with as few of the other actions as possible because they often get drawn dead off of the Council Room. But you take a sentry or 2 early to get thin, and then you basically just buy 1 to 2 Council Rooms and a bunch of treasures. Tiara, gold, platinum. The big virtue of that deck is there is a lot of synergy between Tiara and platinum. Just because if your deck is thin-ish and has a bunch of those tiaras are often going to be 4-cost card that gets 5 money and a buy, which is great value. And Council Room is the best position to take advantage of the Tiara Platinum synergy. Just have a bunch of treasures, have an 8-card hand, line those up pretty often. Option C would be playing with Bandit. Normally I think Bandit's main function is gain a gold and the attack is secondary. Here I think the attack actually kind of significant. So for example, versus the Council Room deck that just has a thin deck and a bunch of treasures, the Bandit attack hits pretty often. And if you gain a gold and trash a platinum, that's actually a whole lot of value. And the downside, of course, with Bandit is you're playing primarily with gold as your payload, which is a lot weaker than platinum. Tiara gold is 6 money, Tiara platinum 10. It's a pretty big difference. You can still buy platinum in that deck, but you're gaining golds. So Bandit, I think you get a slightly weaker deck, but you potentially get in some strong attacks that slow down the Council Room deck. And then late in the game, you can always trash the Bandit and add a Council Room. You can top deck it even with your tiaras. And then that becomes a Council Room deck later on. And an upside of Bandit is, at least for most of the game, you could probably play with a little bit more of the cantrips. Like if you have poachers or merchants in your deck and more sentries, those don't really collide with the Bandit. Bandit doesn't draw stuff dead. So it's a little bit more flexible. The way my game played out was the bot had the 5-2, open sentry, and then goes straight into the Council Room big money, basically. And the one thing I thought was a little bit odd was it only ever had 1 tiara, which I think is a mistake. But otherwise, I think it played it quite well. Again, if you get sentry and get thin early, don't have many other action cards in your deck, the Council Room line is a pretty natural thing to pivot into. And it just had like 1 tiara, 5 platinums, and 2 Council Rooms, I think. And then goes to down the colonies. I didn't have the 5-2. I went for the sentries, and I was not having good luck with the early sentry thinning. I ended up having to add a 3rd one, and it was taking a while to get thin. So I added a few cantrips in the interim because I didn't want my deck thick while I was trying to find the sentries. And then I thought, given my position, it made sense to go for the Bandit line. Because I already had a bunch of actions, so Council Room looked a little bit worse for my deck. And at that point, the bot was already thin and had a gold and a platinum and a tiara. And so there's a lot of targets for the Bandit. Unfortunately, Bandit did not hit very much. I think the first 2 whiffed and the 3rd one hit a gold, never killed a platinum. And then I was a little bit behind going to the end game. On my final turn, what I was hoping to be the penultimate turn, there were 3 colonies left. And the bot deck definitely hits double colony if it finds its plus buy, because it's just like 50% platinums. But the bot had seen, in its previous turn, Council Room and Tiara, and hadn't reshuffled. And so my hope was it wouldn't find its last Council Room. It's only the plus buy card. So I bought the third to last colony and top decked the Council Room, hoping that if the bot can't double, I'll take the last 2 colonies and win. But as it turns out, the bot's last Council Room was in the bottom, and I took the L. Looking back at it, I still don't know which of those 3 decks is best. Council Room thing made a lot of sense. The Bandit thing seemed reasonable. I think, given the bot's deck, I think the bot actually chose the right line. Like, early Sentry into Council Rooms looked pretty strong. I actually think, I was very unsure at the time, but I think the Bandit line made sense from the position that I was in. It just, if the Bandit hits a colony or 2, or sorry, a platinum or 2, I'm probably back in the game. It just didn't work out that way. But now we're going to try again. I think I like Tiara Silver as an opening. Clerk Silver or Poacher Silver also pretty reasonable. I think the Tiara one is the most flexible in terms of it's a card you're going to want anyway for any of those decks, and so you're not committed to any of those strategies off the bat. And it's pretty good at hitting 5. The high roll is hitting 5 with a Tiara turn 3. Then you get to top deck a Sentry for turn 4 and get to play it on the second shuffle, which is phenomenal. Didn't quite get that here, but I did find a Tiara, so what I can do is top deck a second one. And if I find my silver next turn, I can top deck a Sentry for turn 5, which is the next best thing. And now I'm going to get clerked. Nope. Okay, so the bot's clerk has missed, but it did hit 5 just off of a 5 copper draw, looks like. So it's still not in such a bad spot. I probably want to discard this, actually, right? I've got a silver down there, but I also have a second Tiara, and like only 1 other copper. What do you think about that? So the bottom 6 have 3 estates. Tiara, silver, copper. So this is obviously like a pretty poor Sentry reveal. The thing you really want to kill early on is the estates. Just trashing 1 copper and no estates is a little bit sad. If I top deck Tiara, how often do I get to 5? I have to find Tiara, Tiara, silver, copper, right? I'm not even sure if the Tiara is helping me hit 5 or not. Because actually, all I need to find is 1 Tiara, a silver, and a copper. So like if I discard this, and I bottom deck an estate, I get to 5. So it's 50% odds if I discard it. If I top deck it, I have to find my silver and my copper on top. So like, this is keeping it is better if the other Tiara is on bottom, but worse if it's not. I think it's probably better to do this. I mean, if I'm at least unsure, this gets me further through my shuffle and back to this Sentry, and the Sentry I'm buying now. So I think this made sense, and it worked out. So now might be a relevant time to be thinking about which path I plan to take. Could just be a third Sentry. You know, I've only trashed 1 card so far. That's probably the correct answer, isn't it? We'll defer the question of what terminal to add and just take a third Sentry. This is not a good hand. Again, killing the estates is everything. The worst card in the deck by far. Seeing 2 in the starting hand is not good when you're trasher a Sentry. That's also, I mean, this is good news for the next turn, but I don't even need this Tiara right now because I got a second one down there. Yeah. So here it's already kind of relevant whether to take a merchant or a second silver. Silver would suggest Council Room a bit more so. Merchant could either be cantrips or the bandit deck. I'm going to take a second silver. I've already got 2 Tiaras. That clerk kind of hurts. I still hit 5. trash, and I think I'll leave that on top. So here's probably the time to decide. What am I adding? I'm unfortunately quite upset with my. I have 3 sentries. I've even top decked the sentries to play them early, and I still have all 3 of my states, which is just, it's not good. Most of my, have I even trashed 2 cards with a sentry yet? I don't think so. Oh no, I did. I trashed 2 coppers once. There we go. I also trashed no coppers once. I'm averaging like 1 copper trash per sentry play and 0 estates. So that's not great. At this spot in the game, my last run, I thought Bandit looked like the clear correct answer. But that was because the bot was super thin and already had a bunch of treasures. Here, the bot's only got 1 silver and 1 tiara, so like if I top deck Bandit now, it's not that likely to hit a good target. So maybe Bandit's worse for me in this scenario. Could just be Council Room. If I want to pursue just a bunch of cantrips, it's probably just a 4th sentry for the moment, because obviously that deck needs to be very thin. I think I'm just going to pursue the Council Room line. So now the next goal is going to be to get to 9. Woo! We've trashed a single estate. And there's 9. Do I want this on top? I think so. Obviously my most important priority here is playing sentries, and top decking a treasure is antithetical to that. But I have a tiara down there, and getting to tiara platinum sounds good enough to be worth it. Oh clerk, why must you be this way? I didn't take a clerk, but I do think the clerk makes some sense. It's only semi-terminal. The way I think about it is, like, if you're building an engine, you just gotta treat clerk as if it's a terminal action card. And the proportion I would be contemplating is basically, of all the cards you see on a given turn, how many of them were in your starting hand? Like, if you draw 5 cards in your starting hand, and you're drawing 4 cards off your Council Room, for example, and nothing else, well then more often than not, your clerk is going to be non-terminal, because you're more likely to have seen it in your starting hand than to drawn into it. So it's like mostly non-terminal. Whereas if you have a thick deck full of action cards, you're seeing 5 starting cards and then drawing like 20 cards a turn, you got to think of that clerk as terminal, because most of the time you're finding it will not be in your starting hand. Here with the Council Room deck, I mean, it's sad if you draw into the clerk, so it's not good later on, but it does have some early value. I mean, like, the bot clerk is definitely slowing me down, and it's even still like non-terminal often enough later on to not be a huge impediment. So while I didn't take a clerk, I do think it is totally reasonable to have one. Here I think I just take 2 more platinums, probably. I don't think I want a second Council Room quite yet. How do I still have 2 estates in my deck? I am so annoyed at these sentries. Maybe I did want a second Council Room. I swear to God, Sentry is a good card. It's trying to to prove otherwise in this game. But in the average case, Sentry is definitely strong. I don't want either of these on top. I just want to find my sentries. If I find the Council Room, I can draw back into them. Platinum, Tiara. I hate this. These 2 estates are just never going to die. Please at least find the Council Room. There we go. God, it feels ridiculous to me. Absolutely ridiculous that I'm buying colonies before I've even trashed my estates. Sometimes that happens. This hand is also kind of gross. I mean, I've got a bunch of money in it, but I don't have plus buy. My deck has a lot of tiaras. I could still draw into one, but a clerk here would nix that plan. There we go. Okay, this turn got a lot better all of a sudden. Now I'm looking at double colony. And there's a 1 in 5 chance I trash at least one estate here. No, 1 in 6. Okay, so the bot hits double colony as well. Nope, no estates. At this stage, do I even trash the estates if I can? I think I do double colony here. I mean, it loses to double colony duchy. I'm not sure how likely that is from the bot. Let me contemplate. The bot has 1 council room. It's at the top of a shuffle, so I can't say anything about what's likely in its hand. Probably the only chance it has of hitting double colony duchy is off of finding the council room, which is not super likely, but it's not super unlikely either. Like, it could draw into him off of sentries. So 1 colony loses to 27, which is like the bot did 27 last turn, so it's definitely not outside their own possibility. I don't think it's doing 33, so I could just do it's probably just safer to take a province here. I've got my council room coming up. I also got 2 estates coming up. We don't want to talk about that. But if I find my council room, I'm likely to have a good turn. Just dang estates. So the bot got... In the previous game, I distinctly remember the bot playing around double colony. Like, it had 3 colonies left, it didn't buy any colonies and just bought like 2 or 3 provinces, which was, I think, probably unusually conservative for the bot. Like, I think that's the play I would normally make in a situation like that, is try to play around your opponent's best case scenario when possible. But I frequently see the bot like buy the penultimate province in cases where it's risky. It seems to like violating the penultimate province rule a lot. Like here, it buys the colony knowing that my deck can certainly do double colony on a good day. I think it made a little bit more sense here. It was behind on points and maybe just has to take that risk, which appears like it's going to pan out at least reasonably well. I can't score enough to defend against double colony, so I might just be taking another L here. Does an estate make any difference here? I don't think so, right? Double colony takes it to 51. Anything less than double colony and I'll win next turn. Just a question whether the bot can hit 22. Well, yep. I know exactly what to blame for that one. Those god dang estates. Let's run it back. So yeah, that's kind of why trashing estates matters. I was in a winning position, and then I drew that hand of estate colony, and that's just kind of brutal. All right, we hit 5 here, not with the tiara, but I surely cannot complain. 1 more silver, I think. Ooh. I think I like... If I keep the tiara in hand, I can top deck a tiara for next turn, but I don't know if I'm going to find it with my silver. I have 2 silvers, so probably the answer is yes, I do it this way. The other option would just be like top deck a tiara and buy a silver, or top deck a copper and top deck a merchant, something like that. I'm not totally sure. Provided I don't draw an estate, this at least gets me a 2nd century on top. Alright, we're continuing the tradition of not finding estates. But this century is a high quality century. This one's going to trash 2 estates. I can feel it. Well, I'm still a reasonably good trash. Let's take 1 more, because I don't trust centuries anymore. Been burned too many times. Now might be a good time to add a clerk. I was just saying, I think clerk is reasonable here, and I've already got 2 tiaras. Well, this estate's not getting trashed, but there's still a chance to kill the other one. Do I draw this? Guarantees I hit 6. If I discard it, I have like a 40% chance of finding a Tiara, which is better because I can top deck the whatever I buy. Probably Council Room, maybe Bandit. I haven't really decided that yet. The bad case is a 20% chance of drawing the other estate and then hitting 4, which isn't horrible, but I don't really want a third Tiara quite yet. That's 40% of hitting Tiara, 20% of hitting estate, 20% of hitting Sentry, which gives me a second roll at killing the estate, and then a 20% of hitting Copper. I think these odds make enough sense to discard it here. Hitting Copper and hitting 5 is pretty much equivalent to hitting 6 for all intents and purposes. Well, we didn't get the horrible draw, which is killing the estate, but we still didn't find the estate. I'll discard one of these. And let's see, Bandit, looking at what the bot's got. Bot has 2 Tiaras and 2 silvers. Bandit and 14 cards. I still think I like Council Room better in this case. Don't think I want the Tiara on top with neither of my silvers up there. Well, actually, that didn't even contemplate it at the time, but I actually think the correct buy here, believe it or not, is going to be a gold. I got a Tiara on top. I got a Council Room. We're playing basically big money here. I'm looking at an estate and getting a little bit upset again. I had 3 Sentries in my deck. Let's not have a repeat of last game, please. Okay. Platinum. My bottom 2 have an estate, which is still not getting trashed. And I think that's my other Sentry. Yeah. So it could be Platinum in another colony, or Platinum in another Tiara, or Platinum in another Council Room. I think it's probably worth top decking. I think I'll take a second Council Room. I wonder if it makes sense to start trashing silvers soon. At this point, my deck is thin enough that the answer is still probably no. I just want to kill an estate. Well, this next hand, at least, has 2 Sentries in it and no estates. So that would be a good time to trash some estates. Yeah, obviously, very happy I did not top deck the Platinums here. Clerk being anywhere but the top is sad, because if I draw into it, I draw it dead. And I already had 2 Sentries in a colony, or I don't know why I keep calling it colony. 2 Sentries in a Council Room on top. Oh my goodness, we trashed one, and we're gonna hit the other. Nope. I'm just gonna discard this to double the chance that my Sentry reveals that estate. Nope, nope, nope. And it's on top, which means it's definitely not dying next turn. I'll take 1 colony for sure. I think 2 colonies and a Platinum looks pretty good. At least my other top card is the Council Room. I'll top deck a Platinum here. Where's the bot at with estate trashing? The bot has killed 2 of its estates. No, 1 of its estates, right? Because I just killed my second one. Okay, so the bot might be in the situation I was in last game. 3 sentries and only 1 estate trashed. I think I'm liking the Council Room deck more and more. It gets going real fast. Once you line up Tiara Platinum and you can top deck 2 good things for the next turn, feels pretty nice. I think just another Tiara here. Maybe I just trash this now. I think I trash it. Silver in a colony game does feel a little bit like coppers in a normal game. I have half of mine to top deck a 3rd council room. 3 council rooms does not sound like the number you want, generally. 2 feels like the right number, given that the deck's not super thick. But I just don't have any of them in my next hand. I do have a clerk down there, which, you know. But if I have my starting hand, it's not terminal anyway. I'm just not likely to draw into a council room. I think I'm just going to top deck another one. Hello, estate. My old nemesis. Alright, bot's hit 28. That's a pretty big number, but I think it's too far behind at this stage. Colony and 2 provinces, interesting. I would have thought you take 2 colonies there, and you kind of got to hope that I have a full dud, and then you hit 2 colonies again. Obviously, any line that the bot takes is going to involve taking some risks. I'm sad to have drawn the clerk. If I'd revealed the clerk, I would have trashed it in a heartbeat. But this looks like it'll be fine. This should be enough points to seal the deal. I don't see the bot outscoring 57 within a turn. Bit of a dud, but this dud is still province estate. Given I'm at the top of the shuffle, I think the estate is probably fine. Doesn't at 1 point in a colony game probably doesn't make much difference either way. But if I'm taking a state here, I don't think this game is lasting like 3 more turns. So I'm most likely never drawing around to it again. So there's very little reason not to take it. Which also means at this stage, if somehow my sentry finally revealed my estate, I don't even think I would trash it at this point. I would just discard it. That's a lot of points from the bot. It's actually getting close to back in this. I mean, still not quite, but like if I didn't manage to score here, double colony would be scary. Now it's got to hit 29. I think with a really good draw it can do that. But now that it's got a bunch of green cards in its deck, that'd be pretty unlikely. Actually, maybe it's just not possible. Like, that wasn't a fresh shuffle or anything. So if it had like a really good turn 16, I think these cards were guaranteed to be a bit more mediocre. I don't need that. Hello, Estate. Finally found you. A little too late. Alright, so the moral of this story is estates are bad. I think I'm leaning towards the Count's Room deck being the best in the average case. I still like, I guess I should have played it to demonstrate it in at least one of these games. But the Bandit deck made sense to me, I think, the game that I initially tried it. Just given the situation I was in, where I had more cantrips, I was slow to get going, and the bot had already thinned and added a bunch of treasures. I think Bandit was a nice way to get back in it, like versus this deck on a really good day, which gets straight down to platinums. If you're behind, a Bandit that hits a platinum or two could easily swing it back in your favor. And so I think probably my conclusion is Count's Room is the dominant strategy. Bandit is a potential counter in the right situation. Didn't really try the cantrip deck. Wouldn't rule it out, but it strikes me as probably the third best. Not really sure. Anyways, I have unfortunately not completed it in time. So we got the silver hollow circle of shame. I don't know why I said silver. It's gold. But yeah, on to today's.